rise above, extinguish fear, rise above, extinguish fear.
Guys, welcome back to Rise Above. As you can see, the lights behind me are blue, they're not red. That means this broadcast has been sneaked out under the nose of our COVID union overlords. Today, I can bring you the real truth. Now, for a while on Rise Above, I've been hinting that a healthcare whistleblower has been in contact with me and has been wishing to spill the beans, to tell the truth, to get their story on record and to put themselves on the right side of history. Now, this individual we will call Jamie for this interview. I have had to, there is no video, this is audio only, and I have been asked to distort the audio so that the person cannot be identified. They are still a practicing healthcare professional. They do not want to be identified, they do not want to be struck off, but they wanted to tell the truth. They wanted to get it on record, so they contacted me here at Rise Above. I went to a secret location to meet this individual earlier today, and this is what they told me.
Okay, yeah, so start now. Yeah, so I am a trained nurse, I'm a senior staff nurse, and I've also been a manager in large nursing homes, and I've got over 30-year experience as a nurse, and I've worked in all sorts of different departments and units. I've worked in A&E, I've worked in intensive care, I've also worked in the infectious disease units. I've been working as a permanent nurse in the NHS for quite a long time. And then I went out and did agency work for top nursing agencies. And there I covered a wide range of settings and worked in lots of different wards and units. So I've approached Lance in the last few weeks because I feel that the whole COVID affair is blown out of proportion and is totally overblown. And I just don't like the way things have been going. And I can see as a nurse that things aren't as they seem to be. Our hospitals aren't overrun with patients with COVID-19, although there are some cases, but they're certainly not overrun with people with COVID-19. And in a lot of instances, people are coming into units after testing positive, and then after a very little time, they're sent home and told to self-isolate. I'm not saying that there's not an illness, because I do believe that there is some sort of illness, but I personally feel that it's something like a really nasty flu, and that can go on to affect a person's respiratory system. So if they're compromised and they're unfortunate enough to be in intensive care with lots of other illnesses, then this can affect them, and unfortunately some people do die. So I'm not saying that that isn't happening or doesn't happen, but what I'm saying is that I feel that this whole affair is totally overblown. I've worked in infectious disease units before, and we've worked with really serious viruses and killer diseases, and we have not had to shut the unit down. We've not had to go home and self-isolate. We've not had to do anything like that. The hospital doesn't close, and TB is rife. Even in the NHS at the moment, we get lots of patients that come in with TB, which is highly contagious, and they have to be isolated, and some of them sent off to London to special hospitals. But we still don't go home and self-isolate. Nothing's done like that. So from my point of view, again, this seems to be totally overblown, and I don't like it. So I can tell people that they have been playing up the numbers with COVID deaths, and that they have been certifying people as having COVID, having died of COVID, when in actual fact they may well have died of other natural causes or diseases or cancer or whatever else you'd like to think of. Especially in nursing homes, they seem to be doing this. And I feel that I know that has pushed the numbers up for COVID deaths, and especially in March and right up through the summer, they were really pushing this, and people who were in nursing homes who died of something else perhaps were getting certified as dying from COVID. And I not only know this from myself, but I know this from other nurse managers that I know personally, and they've told me the same thing. So that is a definite, that's definitely going on. The other thing that people need to bear in mind is that the PCR tests are wholly inaccurate. And even Boris Johnson, in an interview on tape, says that only 7% of the tests can be trusted, which is absolute madness and insanity, because the whole thing's been built around these tests. So many people that think they've got COVID-19 or coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, they may not even have it at all. And a lot of people that are being tested are testing positive and then finding out that they just feel fine. So I feel that the tests are wholly inaccurate, and it's not just me saying that. There are lots of other people, who are well qualified doctors, nurses, saying the same thing. So that needs to be taken into account as well, I think, in all this. As far as I can see, the coronavirus and COVID-19 affair, to me, is a totally overblown lie. And they've spent billions and billions of pounds about it. And that money could have been spent on hospitals, schools, and whatever you want to spend it on, which would have made our communities better, would have been serving everybody a lot better. And I still think that all these lockdowns are unnecessary, and the whole thing is built around a lie, basically. That is not to say that there are people that aren't unwell with some sort of flu-like virus or SARS or whatever you want to call it, but the whole thing has been mismanaged, and it is a giant bubble of lies, basically. And that is my own personal feeling about this, the whole thing. I mean, everything is out there in front of our eyes. If you just look at Professor Chris Whitty, Chief Medical Officer and one of the SAGE people, he's actually said in interviews that are recorded that 99.98% of people who get coronavirus, COVID, or whatever you want to call it, get better or do not even know they've had it. And he's even said, even the elderly that find themselves ill and in intensive care, even they can overcome it and are overcoming it. So this is out there, he said it, and that needs to be borne in mind when you were looking at this whole coronavirus affair. So concerning the vaccine, my thoughts are I don't want it, and I certainly would be extremely careful with having it. I mean, I'm talking to my colleagues who are nurses and doctors. I mean, this vaccine has been rushed through really quickly. It's an mRNA vaccine. It's never been used on humans before on a massive scale. And I think people need to be really careful with it. I personally wouldn't have it. My family aren't having it. My mother and father aren't having it. And the only advice I can give as a nurse, because I have to give advice with a duty of care, is to people, if they feel that they need it, I personally would give it 6 months to a year before they have it, because I do feel that we're going to see a lot of vaccine injuries and a lot of vaccine problems from this mRNA vaccine. And just as in 2009 with the swine flu vaccine, a lot of nurses now, doctors and nurses who were coerced to have it, it wasn't mandatory, but I can remember people were putting pressure, managers were putting pressure on the nurses and doctors to have it. Well, a lot of those doctors and nurses have now got vaccine injuries due to swine flu vaccines. There were two at the time, one was Pandemrix, I can't remember what the other one was, and they are now suing the government because the vaccine companies were not liable, just as now, and they're going through these special vaccine courts right up to today because they've been injured, some of them quite horribly, through the swine flu vaccine at that time. So admittedly now they've got swine flu vaccine and some people do get it, but if you're going to have it, I would give it 6 months to a year so that you can see what happens in that time with this vaccine. Personally, my advice is don't have it. So my feeling about the whole COVID affair is that it is a giant lie. And I would encourage any doctors and nurses who feel the same to come out and actually tell people about it. Not only that, what I can't understand is how so many people have fallen for this, and I can't understand where people's human spirit has gone. Because personally, I want to fight this lie with the truth, and I expect other nurses and doctors to come out and do the same. But also, ordinary people need to be waking up and seeing that this whole affair is much more than just about a COVID virus. You know, we're all locked in our homes, almost in prison. We're told what to do. We've got COVID wardens wandering around telling people what to do, which is absolute madness. We've got, 2 meter distances. We've got people wearing masks, and masks just do not work because COVID-19 is on the government website as a non-highly infectious disease, and that was brought in March and also updated in June. I'm not sure whether it's been updated recently. So we're dealing with a non-highly infectious disease, which is stated by the government, and wearing masks to me seems absolutely crazy. I personally do not wear one anywhere I go. I make a stand, and I have had some, not arguments, but discussions with people. But I'll just give you a bit of advice. If you don't want to wear a mask, you can exempt yourself. You're not breaking the law, and you can go online and read about face exemption on the government website. And, come on people, where's your spirit? Let's show these people that we're not going to be pushed over with a lie, and that we're not going to be pushed around and have our lives turned upside down by a giant lie. So get out there, take your masks off, and make a stand.
So, pretty groundbreaking stuff there. This healthcare professional of 30 years experience is actually corroborating a lot of the things that I've uncovered in the various episodes of COVID-1984 as we've gone through the series. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to tune into the live stream tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We are back. Rise above.
No predictions or prophecies, just scriptures and mythologies. No instructions in the Odyssey. Inhale, exhale logically, part of the tribe. Earn my stride, hung with the pack. Long dark night, poison darts, long blow pipes. I take aim when the moon shines bright. Entered this jungle as a student. I was acting humble and prudent, practicing to become fluent in a sacred tribal movement. Master arts the shamans using, elevate into more than a human. Raise the vibes so the hate's reducing. Absorb the light the sun's producing. Air's electric, feeling the charge of thunder. Dark foreboding sky we got under. Hectic in the presence of wonder. Open your eyes, awake from the slumber. Life is a prey, act like a hunter. Enter the battle, emerge from the bunker. It is the rain dance, I am the drummer. Dance in the rain, it's a stormy summer. Look, you're